I'm at the first ever Advertising Week Europe event in London, and I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Mr. Trevor Beattie, who is the founding partner of B&B. Trevor, I'm very well, and all the better for hearing you declare the end of the traditional 30-second TV advert.
I think so. It's time, isn't it?
So if not 30 seconds, how long?
Five. Or big. So tiny or big. But the 30-second unit, as a unit of consumption, is tired and old-fashioned. I think that 40 years ago, when we were told that we were going to receive a message in 30 seconds, it was like a laughably small amount of time to deliver a message. And now, it's a laughably laborious amount of time.
People are getting bored over that 30-second period, you think?
I think the ads themselves are a bit boring. When there's actually end sequences, the logo sequence can now last 5 seconds. That's not doing anything, it's not helping. And with things like Vine, although Vine is cheating because Vine is 6 seconds, and I believe it's slightly shorter than that, you can look on Vine and decide within 2 seconds whether you like that piece of film. And that tells me something. If I can look at that and say, well, don't like this one, do like that one, after 2 seconds, then 5 is a nice pace for the current pace at which we absorb information, which is rapid.
And that's a reflection of how viewers' attitudes have changed and how people's attitudes have changed, presumably a result of the digital era, for the want of a better phrase.
Yeah, I think it's like a tapas existence. I keep hearing this everywhere. Everything's tapas, whether it's food or news or interviews like this. It's this constant... I hear on the radio...
Am I going quick enough?
I constantly hear on the radio, I've got to hurry you up, I've got to hurry you, you know, because we've got to go to the weather, or there's a dog down a well somewhere, and they're always cut away from big issues to other issues, and it becomes very bite-sized. But if you make the bite-sizes very interesting, the same amount of information can still go in. It just doesn't drag its feet. I think we're much quicker at taking it there.
And you've identified this trend, but does it also make you feel a bit sad? Do you sort of long for the days where you could wait a week for the next episode of your favourite TV show, for instance?
We are very impatient, and I've become accustomed to it. I've noticed, particularly in the news media, where you're not allowed to make a speech anymore. You have to pre-release the speech so that the news can be written about the speech before you make it. And there is an element of kids being allowed to open their Christmas presents 2 days before Christmas about it, and it is that kind of impatience. We have an impatience, but I've decided to embrace it rather than whinge about it.
And you're famous for adverts, well, many adverts over the years, of course, but two spring to mind are the FCUK for French Connection and the Wonderbra ads, of course, going back a few years. Without the aid of visual assistance, which is obviously going to make it so much easier for you, but how would you have done those ads in 5 seconds?
They are 5-second ideas, though. I think that FCUK was probably a 2-second idea. Not that it took 2 seconds to have the idea, maybe it did, but 2 seconds to communicate the idea. So they are very, as they were billboard based, it only takes 5 seconds to register an idea on a billboard. You don't stand there for 30 seconds looking at a billboard deciding whether you like it or not. There never was time. And that was 200 years ago, looking at the billboard. And so I guess I'm bringing a sense of that billboard mentality to moving pictures. You can absorb them really quickly.
And you said ads should either go very short or very long, and it seems like the very long ads are the ones that people have been talking about in recent years, like the John Lewis Christmas ads.
Yeah, I think I'm not saying that we should have a commercial break full of 5-second commercials, by the way, because I think that's wrong as well. But I think there's a nice blend to have there. 2-minute commercials, 3-minute commercials, but the bulk of them then around it being 5-second messages. You could take a 2-minute commercial, 3-minute commercial, and divide it into a 5-second series. So little bites of a 5-second tale which is being told. You could have an endless tale told, with people adding their 5 seconds along the story. You know, the old game of writing a line and folding the paper over and writing the next line on a story. You can do that with movie.
And one challenge was posed to you by someone to me on Twitter was if you're skipping the ads like so many people do on the EPG, how do you spot the 5-second ad? Because if you're going at 30 times normal rate, can you really do this?
I disagree that we are skipping the ads now. I think that's, dare I say it, even an old-fashioned notion now, because the idea that TiVo or Sky Plus would be the death of the TV commercial has been proved wrong. The reason it's wrong is because we're enjoying more and more live television. So live reality TV and live shows are where it's at now, and because of dual screen, we're watching live TV, we're reacting with our friends and followers online to what we're seeing live, then we're reacting when the ad breaks come up to the ads, often complaining about the ads because they're boring and it's that old ad again. And I think with 5 seconds it stands a lot more repetition than a boring 30 that keeps coming on every break. So live television has been the salvation, I think, of TV advertising, which was threatened by TiVo and by the fast forwarding. I think we tend to fast forward less than we did. But the challenge is there, and the challenge is to get such a striking image within that 5 seconds that when you do fast forward it, you will stop and think, hang on, was that what I just saw in 5 seconds? I need to come back and have a look at that. And I think that combination of the lengthy, almost cinematic piece of film commercial and the little bites of information and the little bite, I showed a piece of film of that I'd seen from Vine that someone had made of a 5 second recipe for steak tartare, and it genuinely tells a story in 5 seconds. That could be a show. That could be never mind the ad. I'm also talking about the dreaded word content. That could be a TV show, which has the joy of not having Jamie Oliver in it as well. So that's a major bonus. Just the food.
A 5 second TV, but it has to be massive budget to make it pay, or you'd have to get a series of maybe 10,000.
Look, I mean, how many recipes could you do? There'd be loads of them.
And outside of your own work, which ads are kind of grabbing your eye? Which ones do you most admire right now?
Ad of the last 12 months was By a Million Miles, Meet the Superhumans for Paralympics for Channel 4. And I'll flatter you lot by saying the Three Pigs commercial for Guardian was a genuine breakthrough because it spoke about the world as it is now, and it reinvented news platform. I thought it was terrific.
Well, on that note, Trevor Beattie, thank you very much.
Cheers, thank you.